ask your question. Thank you. The members of Rotary Club of Grand Bay and I extend a warm welcome to you all for attending today's event. The topic, impact of digitalization on an economy, Dr. Chirag Chakrabarty has chosen for today, is very challenging. And I'm sure that when you leave today, you will have a much better understanding of the subject. Our selection of this topic is meant to raise awareness about the challenges facing Mauritius and the key factors which will put us on the path of progress. Dr. Chakrabarty is running his own CATIC consulting, and as financial expert, he has occupied several posts of responsibility during the last 25 years. At one time, he has acted as Director, Development and Supervision of Financial Markets at the Bank of Mauritius. He has worked as financial market expert for the IMF. He also worked with Deloitte, and his services have also been required by the central banks of South Africa, Botswana, Namibia, Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya, the stock exchanges worldwide, and also he has collaborated with the capital market regulators. He regularly contributes to some well-read and authoritative periodicals and other publications, and has been a visiting facilitator at some of the best financial institutes across the world. The subject today is very pertinent indeed. It is a fact that businesses are managed more efficiently when decisions are data-driven. Amid slowing economic activity, COVID-19 has led to a surge in e-commerce and accelerated digital transformation. We are condemned to innovate and create new models. We can consider ourselves fortunate to have Dr. Chakrabarty address us. Sir, I have a great honor to invite you to take the floor. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Madam Chadu, for this invitation. And I'm really honored to be here. If you can't hear me properly, please let me know. Although we are speaking on digitalization, but sometimes internet plays a role which spoils everything. So if you have any problem listening to me, please let me know. So the topic, as it's been mentioned here, is impact of digitalization on an economy. And it's a very interesting topic because things are moving towards digitalization. It was moving towards digitalization, but post-COVID, the speed has increased drastically. And you'll see most of the economy and most of the businesses in that economy are moving towards digitalization in a very fast manner. So one of the biggest example we have seen, at least for some industrial sector, that digitalization and work from home has become a success story. Some of the industry has problems because that cannot be applied to those industry, which is more physical presence are required. So there the digitalization has to be done in another way. So today I have been allotted around 30 minutes, and in that I would like to speak about the impacts of digitalization on an economy. And then I'll take one particular sector, how in that economy the digitalization has happened. And finally, we'll finish the talk with sharing some of the digitalization process or product which is happening in Mauritius. And then I leave it open to the question and answers. So that's the format I would like to follow today. And if you have any questions, you can always ask me the questions in the question and answer session. Just 1 minute I will take, or 1 second, not even a minute, to talk about what is CATIC Consulting. We are a purely independent domestic company based in Mauritius, but working for entire Africa and Middle East on purely financial advisory and consulting. So we do consulting related to risk advisory, market, so any sort of risk advisory related to technology or financial risk, we do a lot of work on that. So a lot of fintech related work we do, a lot of data related work we do. We do a lot of work on market infrastructure and exchange. Specifically, this is related to the for exchange like stock exchange, commodity exchange. We advise them. We do banking advisory. We also do something related to corporate strategy advisory and financial advisory, valuations and data analytics, process advisory. That's another area which is very keen now, which is becoming very important because everybody talks about digitalization. But to do a digitalization, I'll talk about that. You need to do a lot of process advisory. So, and that is giving a lot of projects now. Capacity building, which is very much part of our services, that is training and compliance, regulatory and policy advisory, which is related to central banks and other things. We do that. So these are the gamut of the consulting piece which Static Consulting does. And everything is backed by technology because we believe nothing can be done completed in today's world without technology. So that's about Static Consulting. Next two slides, I'll just skip because Madam Jadoo has really given a very good introduction of me, so I'll not waste my time or your time on that. And I directly come to the digitalization part. So what's digital? Digital means what? That's the basic question which we need to understand. There are various definitions of digital. There's a technical definition of digital. But according to me, what I have visualized, I have divided digital in this manner. And maybe you may be interested to know that. So according to me, D stands for data and documentation. That's the backbone of digitalization. If you don't have proper data and if you don't have proper documentation, digitalization cannot be done. So that's the basic backbone of any digitalization. So data and documentation is very key. Second one is inclusion. That's a very important part. I don't know how many of you will be well versed with this word, but we have in financial industry or banking industry, we call it financial inclusion. That means how many people of any country are having a bank balance or bank deposits or taking loan, or how many of them are investing in a market. So that's the inclusion part comes from digitalization. So if your markets, if your banks are well digitalized, then you'll have more and more people coming into it and you'll have more and more inclusion. And it's called inclusive growth of an economy. So that's I stands for that. Then we have G, which is very important in any economy. That's the governance, because a digitalization enhance the governance level. So if you see, if your economy is highly digitalized, you will see that the economy is higher on a governance index. So G stands for governance, because everything related to governance can be efficiently implemented as well as checked, because if it is a digitalized. If it is not digitalized, many governance issues goes out of toss. So that's another area is governance. Then we have information, and then we have technology part, and then we have that's the main part is the technology of a digitalization, and auditable. That's the point I want to bring up, because we all know about information, we all know about technology, but this is also very important, because when you digitalize anything till the last point, things can be audited, and so it brings lots of transparency. And the last one is about the low cost, so which is again an important part, because when you digitalize thing, the cost goes down, and which is also true that in other way the profit goes up. So you'll see the low cost which brings more profit. So according to me, I define digital as a data, which is the backbone, documentation for anything which is very much required, inclusion, governance, information, technology, auditable, and low cost. I'm extremely sorry for a typo error here in this spelling, but the spelling is absolutely correct. So that's about the introduction of what digital. But going forward, we use these three terms very, like a synonym: digitization, digitalization, and digital transformation. But there's a difference in these three, terms, because when you talk about digitalization, it's like a story, or it's like a curve which goes up. So you start with digitization of any economy or any business, and then you move to digitalization, and then you go to digital transformation. Digitalization is basically nothing but, it essentially refers to taking analog informations, that is, and encoding into a zeros and ones. That's basically a binary function, which is taking the information in your computer and keeping it for some certain future use. For example, simple one, you say, I have done a digitization by just scanning the document. So you have a physical database where you have taken, for example, let's take for example, one of the example here, that when you have a vaccination, you go for a vaccination in any country, there you fill up certain forms. That form is kept in a physical form, and then if you get scanned, it becomes a digitization. So that's the first step you are making of a process or an economy, that you are scanning it and putting in a soft copy. Now, once the scanning is being done, then you go to the next level of digitalization, where it refers to enabling, improving, or transforming business process by leveraging digital. So basically, you will come out with something like a business process where you'll be using this data which you have scanned it properly. So that's the digitalization part. The process gets more digitalized. So for example, like let's take the vaccination process again. So next time when you go to that country which has already digitization has been done, so let's say you have taken the first dose as a physical form, second dose in a physical form, but third dose when you go, you already have an app where that app is showing it to you that you've already taken 2 doses of thing. The third one you can just key in into the app, and you don't have to do any scanning of it. So you have enhanced your process of digitalization, that you've created an app. The third one comes, which is absolutely the first, main thing which everybody should look for, is complete digital transformation. That means what? That app is there where you have kept it. The app is very much there. It has got all the history of your vaccination, but it is only about COVID. Now I come out with a process that whatever vaccination I have taken from my childhood, if that is there in that particular app, then I have done a digital transformation of vaccination process. And that's the 3 things of digitalization which comes into picture. One is the digitalization, and digital transformation. So we should all look forward for a digital transformation. And once we have all the process which have a digital transformation, then you will say that the economy is more digital economy compared to old days economy. So that's the 3 things I wanted to plug it here before I go into my next slide, that please, just scanning of paper is not digitalization. Scanning, creating process, create the process, then digitize that process, plus once the process is digitalized, then use that process for all sort of decision making. So that's a digital transformation which you talk about. So a digital transformation of any economy or any business should have 6 processes. You should look for it. The first step is basically create the right mindset and shared understanding. That's very important, because you can create an app, but many people may not use that. They still will prefer to, using the bank account. They still may prefer to go to a bank branch to withdraw money. So that mindset has to be there to utilize digitalization. And that comes with time. It cannot happen overnight. So create the right mindset and shared understanding. Step 2 is that put the right leaders in place for who understand digitalization, whether it's a company or whether it's a country. If the leader is not understanding the value of digitalization, nothing can work. So correct leader has to be selected. Third step is that once this 2 is there, third step is basically you launch a business center of excellence. A lot of research has to go behind that of digitalization. And the fourth step, then you come out with the strategy that once you have done the research that what type of digitalization should be done, then you come with the fourth step, that you formulate a strategy which will be used for digitalization part. Fifth, and then find and develop and acquire digital business skills. That's another area which I want to focus on, that till step 4, you can very well do it. But as soon as you come to the step 5, you require skilled manpower to implement this. So manpower shortage or skilled manpower shortage can be a really a bottleneck for digitalization part. So that's the step 5. And step 6 is create a new digital business capability. So then we have the business capabilities are there. You can start working on those part of it. So these are the basic 6 steps to build a successful digital business. Or maybe you can, if you focus it in a bigger way, you can see it can be used for your economy also. And as I said, the basic thing of digitalization part is, as I told, that one of the backbone of digitalization is data. And data also has a maturity index. And as I said, for digitalization, there are 3 steps I talked about. For data also, there are various steps, and we call this a maturity index. And we see that basically a new let's take the example of vaccination. So when you are going for a vaccination, you collect data. So that data is just you filled up the form and this is collected data. So that's basically the basic step of maturity index. Then once you, from there, you go to the next level when you analyze that how many of people have taken data, taken vaccine, at what age, how many age, what is the structure, how many male, how many female, how many were diabetic. So you do an analysis of it, so of the data. So you're going to the next level of maturity index. Then the third thing comes that, okay, I have done the analysis part. I know in my population so many are taken the vaccine, so many have not taken the vaccine. So I can do a data driven decision that whoever has not taken the vaccine, I can go directly to them and tell them, you please take the vaccination, or so and so forth. So that's a data driven decision you're taking. So you become much more matured on this. And then comes the data asset. Basically, you're trying to use data for monetization part. You can use data for selling, basically, where you can use this data for selling in the financial market. A lot of data is, because as we know, data is now the new crude oil of the economy, because data is very expensive. And if somebody can give you a data in a proper channel, without impacting any data governance, that means without going against the law, if somebody can sell the data, then it is a big money which is waiting for you. So data is the new crude oil. So you have to develop this data driven maturity index in a business. You cannot just come to this data asset monetization in the first day. You have to start from here and go up slowly, which can go up. And then you become the mastery, which is absolutely the top part of data driven maturity index. So that's the way the data driven has to be taken into concern. So digitalization cannot take place if you don't have proper data driven maturity index. So data is crucial, and you'll see that if you don't have the data, no digitalization can take place in a proper way. So where it is used, digitalization is used everywhere nowadays. You cannot have any field which does not use digitalization. It can be banking, it's a financial sector, it can be real sector like medicine, pharmaceutical, everywhere digitalization is being used properly. Hotels, and so you cannot have any specific industry where you say that digitalization is not required. It is very much required. So it's used everywhere. Even I have taken the example of terrorism. They are using digitalization in a wrong way, but they are also, a lot of data has been collected and they do a lot of analytics there also. We keep on reading that. So digitalization is there across, and you cannot escape that. That has to be part of your business, and that has to be part of your economy. So what's the digital economics which you're talking about? So I have given a little bit background on that, but what is digital economics? And the digital economics is basically, it refers to an economy that is based on digital compounding technologies. Computing technologies, sorry, not compounding, computing technologies. So basically, each and every things which is run based on digitalization part. To some extent, we can say that Mauritius is doing quite a bit of moving towards the digital economy space. Many other countries have done in a big way. Singapore has done in a big way. India is, with such a huge country, still started moving towards digitalization in a big way. So digital economy refers to an economy that is based on digital computing technologies. So if your payment, if your credit, if your loan, if your uh, delivering of a product, everything is based on digital compounding technology. That type of economy is called digital economics. Digital economy is a worldwide network of economic activities enabled by information and communication technology, that is ICT. And the digital economy is also sometimes called internet economy, new economy, and web economy. It's a $3 trillion today, and the entire value has been generated in the last 20 years. But in a very good way, the backbone of digital economy is which is also called the smart economy. And the smart is defined in this way. It is social media is playing a role in a positive way. Mobile is playing a role in a positive way. Apps, which is the applications, are playing a role in a positive way. Real-time informations are available, and it is trusted informations are available. So that's the basic definition of a digital economy. If you have all these, you can have a database decisions, and you'll see the business will be booming in a big way. So that's about the basic definition. But what are the advantages of digital economy? The advantage of digital economy is that it's a more organized economy. It is not an unorganized economy. So if you move towards digital economy, it is more organized because if they think it's process driven, so it becomes much more organized. So what are the basic first advantage which we see is that if your economy can become a cashless economy, very big statement to make. None of the economy is a cashless economy at this moment, but most of the economies are trying to move towards cashless economy. There are various ways of payments which is happening which does not use any more cash. You are using that in a big way. You use credit card, you use debit card, you do online payment. These are all payment system, but doesn't use cash. Also, the big one which is coming now, and Mauritius will also maybe launching very soon, is about the digital currency, which is the central bank digital currencies, which can be a very good and efficient way of payment system. So cashless economy is one of the main advantage of digital economy. There are various issues. Some people say that if it becomes a cashless, there can be a lot of disadvantages, like many senior citizens are there who doesn't want to use this internet or cannot use internet properly. But that's the role which is coming, is that we need to teach them also to come, because they cannot be left alone in this digital economy. We have various examples we have seen. I have seen my own parents who used to initially struggle or they never used to use online payments and all. But the COVID had taught them. Now they are using very nicely online payments without going to any ATM or without going to any bank, because during COVID, they couldn't go out because of the lockdown, but now they have learned it. So that's some of the positive case of COVID, I suppose, that the digitalization process has come quickly. Auditable economy, that's another area, because many segment of economy does not get audited because it's run in cash. It is unorganized economy. In very big countries, we see there's a parallel economy runs which cannot be auditable, and cash cannot be tracked properly. But if you have a digitalization done, it can be auditable to the last mile. So it's an auditable economy is another important part or point which can be utilized. Reduction of corruption, because if it's digitalized, you will see that you don't have to, nobody can take bribe, nobody can do that, because it will be captured, because it will be audited. So it will be very difficult to do corruption from that perspective, unless until you completely hack the system. That's a different thing. We'll talk about that separately. That is the risk part of it. Enhancement of tax collection, because if everything is done through a payment properly, and if you put a transaction-based tax and reduce the direct income tax, that can be a very good way of enhancing the tax collection for the government. And many countries are looking for that perspective, that if you digitalize the process and most of the transactions are done on digital platform and put a transaction tax, that can enhance the revenue of government, and it can give some sort of leeway on the income tax part, and it reduce the income tax part. Data-based timely decision, very important, because if you have a digitalization done, you have data real-time basis or a near real-time basis. And based on that, you can take all sort of decision. And that's very much important anytime, because if you can take a timely decision, your decision can be correct and it can enhance the business. Personalization, that's another area which is very much important for the organized. And what do you mean by personalization? That means if you have a proper data, any person can come to your level and identify a product for you. So for example, let's say a bank wants to give you an investable product, and if he has all the data about you, that what type of likings you have, what type of information you have in the public domain, based on that, if he can come and give you, this is the product I am giving it to you, which is purely personalized for you, that you may like it because it's only for you. So that can help you a lot. And instead of making a homogeneous investment product, you can make it a personalized investment product. So that's again an advantage of organized economy. Lower cost, as I said, because when you do digitalization of process and other thing, the cost get reduced. And once the costs get reduced, you will definitely, it's good for any economy. And efficient financial inclusion, that's another area I said, that as you get more and more data, you can become more and more informed decision you can take, and that can lead to financial inclusion. More and more people can open, let's say, the bank account with you. More and more people can use a mobile to make the payments. So inclusion will be much on the higher side. I'll talk about that in next few slides on the financial inclusion part. Impact of financial sector. So basically, I just want to talk on a few things on financial sector, because that's the one sector which I personally like very much, because I'm from that sector, and we have seen huge amount of digitalization which has taken in this financial sector. So I just wanted to touch upon this. Frankly speaking, for digitalization, anybody can speak for days together, but half an hour is not enough. So maybe I'm running a little fast to cover a few of the slides, but definitely anytime if you want to have more, detailed discussions, we can always have that. So impact on financial sector, major impact of, I'm just taking the example of Mauritius now, I'm not going anywhere, any other world. And financial sector is a major contributor to GDP of Mauritius. There is quite a bit of banks, which becomes the backbone of financial sector. But the challenges what they generally have is that banks, if they are not digitalized, they cannot reach to the entire country, because many people may not come to you. And the bank which have more digitalized, they can reach each and every corner of the the island, and they can have more accounts opening, more loan disbursement. So digitalization always helps. So reach is one of them. Lack of skilled staff, that is, as I said, when you have a digitalization, you need to have people who understand digitalization, and then only they can enhance the digitalization process. So lack of skilled staff. Financial risk and fraud can happen if your digitalization process is not properly done. And competition, always banks have a lot of competition from non-bank, because I'll talk about that because the telecom companies and all, they are giving challenges to banks. So banks and non-banks competition has started. Initially it was bank against bank, but now it's bank against the non-bank. So the competition is enhanced, and whoever has a better technology, they will be the winner. So obviously, that's why its concept of smart banking has come into picture. And what is a smart banking? It's more of a digital banking. Smart banking is basically a digital banking concept where most of the things are done digitally. And if I have to explain to you in a very simple term that what is smart banking, this is the smart banking. Get the business in and keep the customer out of the building, smart banking. That means most of the customers will sit at his bedroom and do the banking transaction. Don't bring them into the branches. Tell them to be there and make it, but you get the business in. So that's the smart banking of doing it. And this is my perception, I may be wrong, But you'll see in next 2-3 years or 4 years time, the concept of branch will go. You will not see in a bank which will have a branches. It will be more technology driven, because the bank will be in your laptop in a full way, or in a, or max, not even laptop, maybe on a mobile, and you'll be using that in a more efficient way instead of going to a branch for that. Maybe some of the branch may be there, like for just for a psychological purpose, a good lounge system will be there where you can go and relax for some time and take out money. But that will be for leisurely purpose, not for any emergency, that sort of thing. So that's my perception. And I correlate this with a good example. I always try to give this. You have seen Apple. Apple is one of the best iPhone we talk about, Mac machines we talk about. They are the most digitalized company. They use the digital for very efficient way, but they still have shops. Each and every country have Apple shop, and these are basically just to see their products. Some people prefer to go, and you'll see the shops are in big malls. You'll not see this shop, an Apple store next to a Tabaji. No, never. It will be always in a mall as a very luxurious thing. So that's the same way you'll see a branch. Maybe after 5 years, you'll have a big mall like Bagatelle, and you'll see maybe a one XYZ bank branch inside, just to go and relax and talk to the branch manager there. But branch concept will change drastically, and you'll have more smart banking, which will be on the mobile. And so that's the digital banking. Bank of Mauritius is also working on this guidelines. They have come out with some guidelines. Very important that you'll see most of digital banking concept coming in Mauritius. One example which I would like to give it to you, the most of the digital banking model works on SMAC. And what is SMAC? Again, it is the social, mobile, analytics, and cloud. These four things come together and you give a digital banking concept. If this four comes properly, you'll see any bank will be working very efficiently. I'll give an example here. We have some of the big branches in, big brand banks in Mauritius, like HSBC, international brands, HSBC, Standard, say Standard Chartered, and so and so. And we have local banks like MCB, we have SBM, and so and so. But if you look for another banks to come to Mauritius, they will say two things. First, will say that Mauritius is a very small island. How can I have my, what do you call? How can I have my break even in such a small island? So I will not come there. Then you say, okay, you keep your base in Mauritius and look for Africa. Then, oh, Africa, that's very risky. If I give loan, I'll not get back. So that's the concept comes. So again, the risk concept comes there. But when you do a digital banking, as I said, if you do a digital banking, your investment for setting up a bank goes drastically down compared to physical branches and so. So digital banking always enhances spread. So you will see quite a bit of international big brands. They will be trying out their digital banking in Mauritius and some other countries, because they know that because they have a globally tested good technology, which they'll bring it here and start doing a digital banking. What do you require for digital banking? Just one house. That's it. And some places where to keep the server, or maybe it can be cloud-based. So you don't require a big infrastructure for digital banking. So the cost goes down and the spread goes up. So you start making profit out of it. So digital banking is a good thing which enhances the spreads. And that's why it will be a very in thing. You'll see many of the digital banking concept come in Mauritius very soon. Advantage, as I said, 24/7 access to the banking system. You can do your paying of bills whenever you feel like, at 1 a.m. in the midnight or early morning when you go for jogging. You don't have to wait for the branch to open. I still see sometimes, and I feel really sometimes sad that some people are standing around 8:30 in the morning outside branch queuing up for doing something. That will not be there. I think that will go very quickly. You don't have to queue up for a branch to open. Fund transfer can be done whenever you feel like through digital banking. Updates of personal account, KYC can be done through digital banking. Payments, all sort of payments can be done through digital banking. Loan applications can be done. Enhancement of credit limits, no cash transactions, purely digital. And investment can also be done through digital banking. So what else you require in a banking system? Nothing else. So everything can be done through digital banking. So why do you require a branch or anything else? Everything will be on your laptop or a phone through which you can do that. So now, finally, quickly, I'm sorry I'm extended by 5 minutes, but give me 3 minutes to wind up my session. Risk in digitalization, uh, major risk, IT resilience and business continuity, very much important because everything will be based on your IT framework. So if you don't have a very good system, if you don't have a very good backers, you don't have a very good business continuity strategy, it's a big risk for you because we have seen that yesterday, WhatsApp going down, Facebook going down, and you see the entire many things stand still. So that's worst risk which you have. Operational risk, if you have not done the process properly and you done a digitalization, it may lead to an operational risk. And that's why I was talking about in the evening that a lot of process advisory comes, that you need to define the process properly. An optimum process has to be defined. Based on that, the digitalization can be done. Regulation. Some of the regulation does not allow for digitalization. For one example, many central bank does not give you a guide, prefer that your cloud-based computation can be done, which is sitting outside the jurisdiction of that regulator. So, for example, some may not like that if you're an Indian bank and RBI, Reserve Bank of India may not like that it is the bank's data is sitting in Mauritius. So they want that. So this sort of regulation stops innovations, and many of the central banks are changing that now. And there are a lot of new guidelines are coming on the cloud-based computing. It leads to unemployment, definitely another risk, but it also leads to new employment because digitalization brings a lot of new type of employment. Like I can give one example that I've seen in that we know we require a pilot to fly a aircraft, we require a driver to run a bus or something, but nowadays we require a guy who can manage drone properly to collect data. And that's a big type of new employment which is coming out. The new young guys can manage the drone properly, through which you can collect a lot of data from various places, and various processes are run by drone now. So new employments are also generated, but if you don't have a skilled manpower for that, it leads to a risk. Data risk, definitely big time. A lot of data governance has to be put, and that's a subject itself. I cannot speak on data risk in 1 second because it's a huge subject. A lot of regulations are there on data, and if you don't follow that, that can lead to a risk. Cybersecurity, big time risk for you. If somebody hacks your systems, that will lead to a cybersecurity. And talent and culture, that's also important, that you need to have skilled manpower to properly do the digitalization part and the culture part of it. Digitalizing Mauritius, few names to just talk about quickly. We have seen quite a bit of digitalization happening recently. We have payment system coming from MCB. All banks, they have now coming out with their own payment system. But this is a closed loop payment system. And we also have a Mighty, MTEL Cash. These are also payment system, but these are open loop payment system through which anybody can pay that. We have a robo banking now in ABSA. They have done it, which is ABI. And recently, Bank of Mauritius came out with a QR code, which is a very big step in digitalization part for payment system. These are various things which you can talk about, but the point I'm trying to bring home here is that Mauritius is on the path of digitalization, and lots of things are happening in the financial sector. Impact, it's a big time impact. There are various, I'll leave this to you, but definitely impact is very high on the real sector, and the cost goes down. The employment to some extent goes up because of the new employment. Document management is very good, nicely done. As I said, Mauritius is working on a various things, and they see on international indices, the Mauritius is there on quite a bit. The best one is the Global Cyber Security Index. They're a 6th rank, which is really nice for Mauritius. So what the future is? Future is digital and sustainable, because there will be a lot of digitalization will happen in all industries, and it will be financed by, as I always say, by green finance, because that's very important, because the financing should be environment friendly investments. So green bonds and all those things will be part of the digitalization process. So it will be digital and sustainable, the future. So I look, the future very positive. because if you have proper digitalization, a lot of things will happen in a very positive way. So with that, I finished my session. I have extended quite a bit, 10 minutes. So that's my email. You can always be in touch with me wherever you feel like. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Chakrabarti. And now the floor is open. Is there anybody who has questions? In anything, observation, question, anything? I think you were so detail-oriented that in fact, you said so many things that we have to digest, I think, because there are lots of concepts that you mentioned that is news to, I don't talk on behalf of my friends, but I talk on my own behalf that I have just listened to first time in my life, like the green finance. I know green agriculture, green economy, green water and all that, but never green finance. And the smart and the smack. So I think that I will have to digest all that, but I've learned so many things today. And if anybody